Hello there, and welcome to the video. So, Mandalorian and Grogu. Apparently, the premiere happened a few days ago. I think it was the 14th or the 15th, and there's been an embargo lifted, and people were allowed to talk about it. They were allowed to say certain things. They weren't allowed to give the movie a full review yet, though. But apparently, what I'm seeing on social media, what I'm seeing on other platforms, TikTok, YouTube, even reading articles online, it's a very mixed bag of reviews, and that's to be expected. It's Star Wars, and it's also the year 2026. People are going to have conflicting opinions. Some people like to say things for clout. Some people have very strong opinions about certain things, and it's all going to sort of mix in this melting pot. So you've got to learn to differentiate, the wood for the trees, the flowers from the weeds, those kind of things. What's real information and what's just people saying things either out of context or to drive a certain opinion that they have. Now, some people have said it feels like a long episode of The Mandalorian. Well, yeah, it's The Mandalorian. And I get what they mean by that when you add context to it, saying that it doesn't really drive them anywhere. The characters don't really develop anywhere. And I guess what I'm expecting from the movie is something along those lines. It's going to be a spin-off movie. It might make callbacks to the show because it's the same characters, the same universe, but I don't suspect they want to isolate anyone who hasn't watched the shows. Star Wars, they've always said when they started making the Disney Plus shows, that they can be watched in isolation, and you can go in and watch a movie and you don't have to have watched them. So, for example, you can watch Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith without having watched the Clone Wars TV show. Now, that said, you can eat pizza without a dip. It doesn't mean to say you're not going to enjoy it more when you've had the dip or you've had the extra wings or whatever you like to have with your pizza. You know what I'm saying? Extra toppings, those kind of things. It'll make the experience better, but it's not necessarily required. So that's what I'm expecting from this sort of context for Mandalorian and Grogu. I suspect given that the characters that we've seen in the trailer, you'll gain more from have watched things like the Rebels, the rest of the Mandalorian TV show. You'll gain more from that overall if you've seen them going into the movie than if you hadn't. But they don't want to alienate anyone when going to watch the movie. So they want to bring in new fans, you see. It's a business model. So they want people to be able to go in and watch the movie in isolation and say, I really enjoyed that Baby Yoda movie. Perhaps I'll go and investigate in some other Star Wars. And that's probably where they're heading with that thought. The problem being, I also understand as a hardcore Star Wars fan, we want the opposite. We want it to tie in everywhere. We want to see callbacks to things. We want to see characters that we haven't seen in a long time. We want to see not just Easter eggs at the back of a scene somewhere that you've got to really pause to look at. We want something like characters that we know and love from other universes. Well, not universes, but other shows, other movies. We want it all to tie together. I've seen comments saying it's the weakest Star Wars film that's been released. Now, don't forget, a couple of years back, well, a fair few years back now, we were getting a new Star Wars movie pretty much every year. We had the sequels, we had Solo, we had Rogue One. They would pump them out like they were no one's business, and we were all pretty much screaming at them to slow down and focus on the writing, focus on the quality. Sometimes they got it right, sometimes there was some mistakes made and drops in quality and writing, continuity errors, those kind of things. So they've taken a step back, they focused on the shows. The shows were well received, they were genuinely great. Mandalorian is a fantastic TV show, even in its own right. If you took away the Star Wars element of it, I'd probably still enjoy it. But because it's set in the Star Wars universe, immediately, piqued my interest. So they did slow down, and this is the first one we're getting in, I don't even know how many years. It feels like a lifetime. And it's not a mainline title. So it's more in the lines with Solo and Rogue One. It's a spin-off title. It's not a mainline Star Wars movie. So it shouldn't really be compared to the likes of episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. It should just be that it's judged as a Star Wars movie. So that said, things that we should be expecting is massive visuals, vast vast scenery and planets. We see this frozen planet in the trailer. You know, hopefully multiple different locations, multiple different characters from each faction, great battle sequences, great music, great score, an exciting plot, and a focus on the core values that is Star Wars, which often circulates around family, about hope, about a hero's journey. Those kind of things should be in there. Now, unfortunately, Baby Grogu is or at least was during like the height of the pandemic, is a phenomenon. Even people who weren't Star Wars fans loved Baby Grogu, or Baby Yoda as they knew it. Merch was flying off the shelves, so they leaned into that. So this is the first movie that they've made in so many years. I would have liked another movie. I would have liked the original planned Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy, I think it was. It was certainly going to be one movie. I had rumour there was going to be a trilogy, but that was canon and they made the TV show. I would have loved that to have been a movie. I would have loved Maul to be a movie. But they were focusing on TV shows. So for people to say it's the weakest, that may be. Is it worse than Solo? Because to me, Solo currently is the weakest of the Star Wars movies. That's not saying it's a bad movie. It's a fun time, but it's the weakest, in my opinion, of the Star Wars movies. Rogue One is up there as one of the highest. That's a pretty solid movie. So if it falls somewhere between those two, then I'm happy. And as long as we see some great Mandalorian action, he's using his gadgets, his weapons, you know, Grogu's now using the Force and is technically a Mandalorian, so there's lots to explore there. I'm still very excited, even though I've seen a lot of negative comments. There's also been quite a lot of positive comments. But you really don't know until you go in and see it. And Star Wars has to be seen on the big screen, in my opinion. It can be enjoyed later on in a much smaller screen, your phone, your tablet, your TV at home, whatever. But there's something magical about going to see Star Wars in the big screen, on the big screen. I have actually already got my tickets. I'm going to see it in 3D. I don't really care for 3D movies that much. It's just worked out that way. At the time that we're going to see it in 3D. So I'm hoping that adds to the effect. But I am still really excited. I'm currently rewatching all of The Mandalorian. Just finished season 2. So next is the Book of Boba Fett, and then season 3. Ready to go and see it. I'm still super excited. I'm used to, at this point, I've been a Star Wars fan my entire life, and I'm used to seeing negative reviews for things that I love. I tend to form my own opinion when I go and see it. Like I say, Solo wasn't the greatest for me. There were some great moments. Seeing that Maul teaser at the end, spoiler alert, was great. They did some weird things with Solo's name, and yeah, there's some odd choices, but all in all, quite a fun movie. I've heard references of all the CGI and that it's just all puking everywhere and it's just everywhere you look. Unfortunately, we live in a CGI age. I hope that there's a return to form with some practical effects as well too. Practical effect, in my opinion, trump CGI, even when you're looking at the likes of a puppet Yoda. I think it just adds a bit of charm to it. But all in all, really excited. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you really excited for it? Are you put off by some of the negative comments? What are your expectations? How high are your expectations? And if you have gone and watched the movie by the time you watch this, let me know what you thought in the comments. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.